Hello, on tonight's show we talk about a manager of a football team losing his job because he was racially abusive over his Snapchat. So we talk about in the year of 2021 if people of colour really do have a voice. Also, we discuss a little store and a man being abusive to a public service user. So we discuss, have we got the right to talk to people how we like in public services? And we finish on the subject of a 14-year-old murdering a 12-year-old, but is saying at the end of it, he was excited by violence. So we finish on, do you think people are born evil? All that on tonight's show. Hello, welcome to Loose Links. Joining me, Nicholas James, on the panel this evening is Claire Browning-May.
I'm coming. Bear with me. Hey!
Hi, Claire!
Hello!
Rachel Benny!
Hello!
I'm Chris Clark.
Hey!
And as we discussed on tonight's show, a football manager being racially abusive on his Snapchat. So we discuss, do you think that the nation are dealing well with racism? Also, we discuss a man that was verbally abusive to a supermarket worker. So do you think we have the right to talk to people how we like or think how we should be spoken to? And also we finished on the 14-year-old that killed a 12-year-old but was excited by violence. Do we really think people are born evil? All that on tonight's show. Good evening, panel!
Hello!
I've got to tell you, I'll give you a sneaky a secret. That took 3 takes for us to do that this evening. Because I couldn't get my words out. Not anybody's fault at all. As always, welcome to the panel. But a special welcome back to you, Chris. It's been quite a while since we've seen you. How's life? Why you been silent? Where you been? Why you been not around with us?
Yeah, sorry I've not been around for a while. It's been, the start of the year was a bit tough for me. I don't know if you know that I had COVID in December.
Oh,
and, so as a result of that, so sadly I've been suffering with the long COVID symptoms, which has been really difficult. But I think it affected my mental health quite a lot. So I just had a bit of time out to look after myself, and now I'm feeling fresh and back to it.
And we didn't lose you. That's the good thing about it. We didn't lose you. That's the main thing. And I have got to say, I'm very let down by one of my behind-the-scenes members this evening. We don't have poll results. So Rachel Benny forgot all about them. So I will do a live tomorrow night with the poll results of last week's show. Now, we've got some very hard-hitting subjects this evening and some very tickling conversations. But what I'd like to remind you all out there is talking about the first subject, we are talking about a racial abusive man being a white man to a black community. What I want to state here is that we are very aware that we are 4 British white people talking about racism. It's just 4 opinions, that's all it is, and you have your say out there. So anything that we discuss on tonight's show about any topic, please have your opinion. Write into us, let us know what you guys think. So let's start on the first topic then, guys. So it's all a bit sensitive tonight, so I hope you're ready. But a man who lost his job as a manager as an amateur football team on the Lincolnshire border has pleaded guilty to racial abusing Home Secretary on Snapchat video. So, panel, my question to you is, do you think people of colour now have a voice and are accepted like every other person in this world, or do you think we've still got a very long way to go? Let's go to you first, Claire.
Well, I think I could, for me personally, I could put that into like two answers. People of colour now, they do have a voice, I think, especially from way back, but are they accepted like the everyday person? I think that they've got a long way to go, because I just think people are cruel, and you're always going to get, that racism about. So yes, it's good that they have got a voice, but like I say, are they being accepted in the way that that they want to be, and that I would like them to be, because it's just a colour.
It's saddening though, isn't it though, Chris, don't you think, that we are judged by the colour of our skin?
Absolutely. I think people who are scared and people who are angry often use easy things and use easy targets, which is not good when it comes to racism. But something that I think about on this subject is that the media is a really difficult part of it, because on the one hand, you have people championing equality on television and on social media and all the rest of it, and a lot of celebrities and TV shows and that have a great voice of getting the message across. However, I think one of the problems we're seeing a lot, particularly recently with the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, is that the media do love it when the public is divisive. They love to poke the bear, if you like, and it sells newspapers, it sells programs if you are getting that reaction. I think the headlines are often set up to cause an angry reaction.
Definitely. But can you for a second think about how well, I don't want to link it, because racial abuse is very, very different to what I would describe as. But I can only take it from my personal path. So my personal path has been the LGBT community because of being a gay man. Now, I'm not saying at all that being a gay man is just as hard as being a person of colour. Very, very different roads, very, very, very different roads, but it's about acceptance, isn't it? And I think that's what I wanted to talk about this evening, is that there's always somebody that's going to be homophobic, there's always somebody that's going to be racial, there's always somebody that's going to be transphobic, there's always that nasty person. And I just think we are too much on judging people to me, there's one judge and it's not me. And I just think, I think we've got a long way to go with acceptance. What do you think, Rachel?
Yeah, I think we've got a long way to go, but I also think it's probably bursting into the next era. I think it's a generational thing. And I think that children now are being taught better in schools to accept people. And so hopefully the younger generation that are coming up now will be more accepting of anybody, because I think I was amazed actually to read that it was in 1965, 56 years ago, that when I was born, that the first piece of legislation came in about racial equality, that kind of thing. First piece of legislation. Everything else didn't work before, but I'm amazed it's only that young, because I was never brought up in a racial family that was against race or colour. I never even thought about it. We never thought about it if we saw somebody of a different colour, a different nationality to us. There weren't as many, no. But even if there weren't as many people, if there was just, I can remember a Vietnamese boat boy coming into our school, and he was like a celebrity, and it was wonderful. And I used to play with a little coloured boy when I was little, and I used to go in. Oh, there's a picture of me in his little playpen. We never even thought about it. So yeah, they're taught about it through their families. So rightly or wrongly, but now they're being taught better, I think, in schools if they're not being taught at home. So hopefully,
as well, it was really I have many children and friends that I don't personally have children. Sorry, let me say that again. I have friends of children and stuff like that. And I remember years ago being with a friend in a playground, and it really, really opened my eyes. So I was just there to pick up her daughter with her, and she was about 3 or 4, and she came out the playground out of school, and she ran over to mum in dead excitement, saying, "Oh, I've made a new friend today. I've made a new friend today." And so her mum said, "Oh, what's her name?" So she said her name, and she said, "So what does she look like?" And do you know what absolutely blew my socks off is she described everything about her hair colour, her eyes, what she looked like, what clothes she wore, her sense of humour, her laughter, all of that. They never once mentioned the colour of her skin. And the colour of her skin was a person of colour. But she never, ever even said that. And I just think that maybe we need to go back to the innocence of children when it comes to racial. And because I just find it so sad that it still manages like this in topics.
But that's what people say, isn't it? When you get to children, little children, playing together, racism isn't, what's the word in? You're not born racist. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So therefore, you're taught it, and that's the thing. As children, growing up as parents, if you instill that into them, and that's why I think it's taking so long, because you are, like you say, going to get those who are against it and that, so they're not going to say to their children, what's right and what's wrong.
I have to say, I was brought up around a lot of people, friends and some family members who weren't necessarily spiteful or racially, they didn't display racial hatred. However, there was a lot of racial ignorance displayed by certain members of my family and certain friends, and they would say things around me as a child that were probably not anywhere near acceptable. And as a result of that, it took me a long time to really work out in my brain what it was all about. And I think unwittingly, I probably did grow up until I was an adult with some racist thoughts. And that's really saddens me that it's that easy to brainwash somebody.
As well, Chris, can I say, well done for saying that, because we've all been ignorant of it in the past, and actually to bravely say it and to say, actually, I had these thoughts, because I've had many conversations with adult friends that have said when I was younger, I was ashamed of what I thought of. Carry on. Sorry, I just wanted to say that's really brave to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true at the end of the day, and I think it's important to recognise these things, because if you don't, you'll never develop and change your mindset, and that's something I'm keen to keep doing, really.
And the thing is, as well, isn't it? Race for me, it wasn't really taught in school when I was in school. It wasn't really a subject. It was quite alien. It's always been quite alien to me. And what we had, shamefully now, when I think of it, and yes, I am that old that this programme, I did see a couple of episodes of this programme, but when you look onto TV to experience race and colour in different, you have programmes like Love Thy Neighbour, which is very, very witty and very, in back then, they got away with what they said. But actually, was it the best way to teach us?
It was equal, though, wasn't it? It had the whites and the coloured people, but it was equal, taking the mick out of both.
Yeah.
It was laughing at both sides. And that's why I think they got away with it, because it was made a joke of.
Yeah.
It wasn't made to be vicious or nasty, but it was something that made, I suppose, children and racists that were born of that era, it brought them up to realise there was a difference.
Yeah, 100%. And does it make you? I told you, I end up with 3 questions on the topic, and then 1,000 questions come into my head as we start talking. But does it make you cross? Because I think it certainly makes me cross when I would say, and I apologise for anybody that says it out there, but this is just my personal opinion, but when people say, oh, I'm fed up of the Black Lives Matters, I'm fed up of hearing it, I'm like, where's White Lives Matters? And what really annoys me about that is that obviously I haven't walked a path of a person of colour, but what I've learned from history of people of colour is that we don't need White Lives Matters, but we seriously need Black Lives Matters.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, yeah.
Yeah, but I can say another view of mine. I'm fed up with all of it, because every life matters. It's not just Black lives. It's not just white people. Any life matters, and why should they fight for their right to be heard and to be treated equally? It makes me so cross, because we shouldn't even have that.
No, we shouldn't. But the fact that we have to is the issue, really. And nobody's saying that nobody else matters. That's the bit that gets me angry, is that people think that just because we're saying Black Lives Matter, you're automatically saying nobody else does. And that's not the case at all. No. We're saying there is a real problem here, and we have to deal with that.
Completely agree. Because it's really hard, isn't it? I find it. I told you this is a really testing subject for all 4 of us here, because there's nobody of person of colour here. So if you are watching the show, please join in, because your opinion is just as vital. And if you get in touch, we will share your opinion of what you've said about this topic next week. We do promise. But Rachel, I'm slightly on Chris's side there, really, about.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean to say it doesn't matter. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but what I'm saying is, yes, it has to be aired, because it's obviously a problem. But it shouldn't be in this day and age. It shouldn't even happen. I know that sounds very naive, but it's just my personal opinion, because I am not a racist.
No,
I take everybody face value, and I don't even consider their skin colour, and it makes me cross that people should.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say to you, Rachel. Not everybody's like that, and this is why the whole Black Lives Matters has come forward, because even in the acting career and in the TV career, and making a name for themselves, and building a money scale and equal pay and all of that. That's why Black Lives Matters has come forward, because they're forgotten about. And they've been forgotten about for years and years and years. And when it comes to acting parts, when we really look at acting parts, and I really recommend documentaries that are on the BBC at the moment about Black Lives Matters, about how people would go for a acting interview and they would shine better and bigger than anybody else, and they were amazing, and people were saying they were amazing, but that producer would take the white person instead of the black person. And that's why Black Lives Matter has come forward, because actually we don't know how, and I'm not saying that white people have got it easy in their lives, but we don't know how difficult it's been to be that child of colour, maybe in a country or wherever they are, that are surrounded by a white community years ago. That must not have been an easy journey. And I think that's what we're talking about this evening. But do you think, as a nation, we are dealing with racism better Or do you think that actually we've still got a lot to learn? And I'm talking about the authorities here as well.
I don't think we're dealing with it very well at all, actually. I just feel that things like Brexit, doesn't matter which side you're on with Brexit, I just think that things like that recently have stirred up unnecessary trouble to do with racism and issues like that. So I don't think we're dealing very well with it as a result of things like that, to be honest.
No. What do you think, Claire? Do you think as a nation, and maybe in education, because you're in education now, we are dealing with everybody is equal a lot better than maybe when you was a child?
I think education, I mean, of course, I'm in a primary school, so, and I'm right down, but I think we do deal with it very well, as well as we can do, because, of course, we're not their parents, but, you know, it's put out there about race and things like that. I mean, especially nowadays, we do have a lot of ethnic people in, you know, now. A lot of people from all different nationalities. So I think, yes, school, but again, as you say, as a nation, like Chris said, I don't think, no, we're not. And of course, Brexit didn't help. But it's not everybody, is it? But you don't need to have a lot of people, you know, you just have a few, and then it just causes trouble, doesn't it?
And I think you still find that, sadly, don't you, as well? I feel that when I think of films that I've maybe watched even in the last couple of years, not even years ago, you find a lot of people of colour are always the servants or the slaves or the people that are worshipping the other people. And I think we just need somebody big to step forward to go, actually, we need to make a difference here. We need to make a change. And I think it's the fear of the unknown. But actually, if we don't do something soon, I just think race is going to get worse and the divide is going to get bigger because we're not coming together as much anymore. And it's sad, isn't it? Because you'll see children, really young, Claire, you will see it all the time, of different ethnicities and nationalities becoming friends. And then as they slowly get older, that friendship disappearing because maybe of the way their skin colour. And I just find that saddening. I just find that I just feel that we're not, Claire, you could completely disagree with me, but I think we've still got a long way to go in even education when we talk about race. I think there's still a high mountain to climb. And I think
that you mentioned films and TV is quite an interesting one. Because even though I just said I think we've got a long way to come, as somebody who does dabble with acting myself, I think we have actually done quite well within the acting community. When you look on websites like Spotlight and Star Now and things like that, the encouragement for ethnic diversity in films and TV is brilliant.
Is it?
It really is.
Have you watched that change though, Chris? Have you seen a change in your acting career? Have you seen that change dramatically, or has it always been there through your acting career?
Well, I haven't been an actor for too long, but I have seen changes along the way for sure. And I think what you get now, of course, is the backlash from people who are scared. Because there are white people saying, "Oh, don't forget about us." Everyone's saying we're keen to see ethnic diversity, we're keen to see that, but don't forget about us. And I think you can very easily fall into that whole trap again, can't you? Of we're being forgotten. But I don't think that's the case.
Well, no, and it's not about. I don't think I'm saying at all that as a white as a white man that maybe we need to step back a little bit instead.
No.
But what I'm trying to say is that we don't need to trample over somebody.
Indeed.
To get what we want out of life.
I think that's exactly it, isn't it? It's just being able to have that opportunity, isn't it? It's giving everybody exactly the same opportunity to do what they do.
Definitely. Well done, guys. We got through the subject. Well done. That was a really good and interesting conversation. Actually, I enjoyed that conversation. But absolutely, if you are watching this and you have a strong opinion of a person of colour or even white ethnicity, get in contact with us, share your opinion, and we will share. But remember to be kind. Please remember to be kind, because that is the most important thing of all. But have your say, because polls will be up and our behind scenes member will get whipped back into shape again next week. So we will be able to get our poll results back up. Actually, I want to share a little moment with you before I move on. As you all know, Loose Links now, I don't know if you do know actually, Chris, because you haven't been with us for a while, but we've been running now 2 years last month.
Wow, 2 years.
2 years we've been on the screens last month, and it's been quite an emotional roller coaster. And we're coming to an event soon where hopefully all panelists are going to meet in one place, in the outside, obviously. But I had quite an emotional moment this week because obviously all I see of people is from a camera screen like you guys see every week in, week out. But I had the pleasure this week of meeting Rachel Penny. I finally met her.
You did, in the flesh, all of it.
In the flesh. I almost had to socially distance feel her face to say, are you actually real? In front of us. But it was lovely.
You didn't ask for my autograph though, did you?
No, I didn't, but you did ask for mine. You did ask for mine.
Yeah.
Moving on to, again, another tricky subject. We've got tricky subjects this week, but sometimes I think it's quite nice to have quite a tricky subject, not an easy subject to get through. But a man was kicked out of a Lidl store in Boston after allegedly removing his face mask and becoming verbally abusive to the sales assistant on the till. So, panel, I want to ask, do you think we have the right to talk to people how we like? Do you think consideration for people is a thing of the past?
No. Do you think we have the right? No, we don't have the right. You know, it's like how you just ended that last question. Be kind. You know, at the end of the day, we all have a bad day, but we're all there for one purpose mainly, and that's for money, you know. So for somebody to go in and then and again in this day and age take their face mask off and give them verbal abuse is not okay. And I don't care, you know, how high up the chain, you know, people are. Respect goes a long way, and I just think that was bang out of order.
Well, Rachel, do you think we had quite a heated debate last week about Matt Hancock? Do you think people are deliberately breaking the rules now and taking it out on any person they possibly can because they're sick of hearing what to do in their lives, and then top dogs aren't doing it?
I think this last year and a bit has brought out the awful side of most people, really. Frustration with the government and what have you. But nobody's got the right to talk to people or be abusive or say their opinion is any more worthy than anybody else's. So this chap that took his mask off in Lidl's or what have you, and be abusive like that. No way should that happen. I don't know what the world's coming to, quite honestly. I live in a utopia. I always have I don't like anything bad happening. I try to shield myself from it. I'm a bit of a airy-fairy utopian, really. I don't like to read the news. I don't watch the television. I haven't watched the television for months, actually.
Have you not?
No, not watched the TV for months. I've been on here all the time. I've been doing polls. I've been doing this, left, right,
for that to happen, I would need a lot of wine.
Yeah, I don't even drink. I don't drink. I've got a dog. But I've been busy. The thing is, it's, you know, there's nothing nice. You see, even the questions tonight. This is not a light conversation discussion for this evening. It's full of the darkness that the world has on offer at the moment. And you know, I talk to myself quite a lot. I wake up in the morning, I start a new day, even though the yesterday's been rather rubbish. So, you know, I don't understand a lot of this stuff that's going on in the world. I would never treat anybody like that, and I don't see why anybody else. But if I heard that person say to the shop assistant, they usually got their hands tied, and they are usually governed by the place that they work. That they can't take matters into their own hands, so they shouldn't be subject to that kind of abuse. So yeah, he should have been ejected, and he shouldn't be allowed to go back into that store again. It's wrong.
But more so again, in these past 18 months, you know, what everybody has gone through. Yeah, we're frustrated with this and that, but you know, he's here, he's alive. You know, he's free to go into whichever shop he wants to, when there's thousands of people who are still worried about loved ones because they're poorly, or like you, Chris, you know, who's had the long-term COVID, and for you and your family it must have been absolutely awful. But for him to go in and to do what he did, like, one, take a mask off, which he shouldn't have done, but two, to then say what he said. No, you know, be kind. That's the word of the day. Be kind.
But Chris, do you think, taking the story to the side, do you think we're just becoming British UK complainers more and more every day?
That's a difficult one. Possibly. And I'm I have to just say that I'm very much with Rachel here. I've stopped watching the news. I've taken myself off Facebook. Sorry, loose links. And
we're still on YouTube. It's fine, Chris. We're still on YouTube.
And that's the reason, because I think there is a tendency for people to complain and clash a lot, particularly through social media. I think we are in a really difficult place at the moment, and people are confusing their right to free speech with being nasty to people.
Yeah. I think free speech is coming up in a bit. Actually, I think it is, but we'll see. But do you think? Well, let's go to you again, Chris. Actually, because of what you've just said. But do you think, when social media was created, let's take there's many other social medias out there. So I'm just using one example, but Facebook was created in 2004. And I had to do some research on this for a quiz that I was doing, but it was created in 2004 for a university for peers to communicate to each other, to talk and all of that. Do you think, Chris, that social media is becoming a darker world than what it was first created for?
Definitely. Yeah, I do. It's a tricky one with social media, because I see so many benefits for people. It really has made life so much nicer for people who can't be with their family members, can't always keep up to date with what's going on with their grandchildren growing up and things like that. You know, to see videos and pictures and feel like you are sort of together, even though you're not, you know, in person together. I think things like that are wonderful with social media, and it does make me very torn about not being so much of a part of it at the moment. However, along with that, the big debates that have been happening, you know, about the subject we just talked about Brexit, politics, Matt Hancock, whatever it is, I think there seems to be a lot more anger coming out on social media about these topics, and a lot more fake news and conspiracies as well, which really causes a lot of tension. And I think that can cause people to act badly too.
Do you think, Rachel, through the spheres of social media now, obviously we've had to because of lockdown and because of staying at home and stuff like that, but do you think we are becoming a lazy nation because it's so much easier now to maybe send a video call or maybe send a text message than going to meet a person in the flesh?
Well, yeah, it's I've been doing quite a bit of Zoom classes, exercise classes, but although it did me good initially, I think the actual feeling of getting in my car and going somewhere now I've had my jabs, the jabs gave me a feeling of bravery and confidence, and got me out there. And then I was walking somewhere with a friend, and I thought to myself, can you really believe what's just happened a year or so ago? I can't believe that's just happened. I can see everybody walking around, looks all normal, but things aren't quite normal. But I can't believe it's like being sucked into something like a dream and then popped out the other side, and it did me better. It did me more good going to the class physically than it did on the Zoom. And although it kept everybody going, kept everybody talking, kept everybody's mental health more stimulated, but it's nothing compared to actually the touch of somebody or the actual seeing somebody. And I'm much taller in real life.
But Claire, do you think though, when it comes to let's open it all out, actually, let's talk about it all together here a little bit, but do you think that when it comes to mental health, and this is a really difficult question, and I know it's not going to be easy to answer, but when it comes to mental health, do you think social media and the internet is a good thing or a bad thing? Go on, Claire, go on, take it. Start us off on the conversation, come on.
Well, I think it's like most, it has its advantages as its disadvantages. But like I said before, you know, if you've not been in that situation, it's really hard for you to judge, you know. And I know everybody's different and, you know, you've got different opinions and things like that. But, and, you know, with mental health, if you've not actually been there, you know, people would think that I'm quite normal, but I'm not. But, you know.
Well, what is normal, Claire?
But that's it. That's exactly it. What is normal? But, you know, I'm happy with myself most of the time. But it's been hard, you know, as it has for everybody. And it's just for you to try and get through each day the best way that you can. That's what I say.
I think you go, Chris, maybe you can join in here, but it's as much as you want to discuss. But my mental health road journey has been through professional help as well, and that's as much as I want to say, really. But it's been through professional help. I don't know if I shared this on the show a couple of weeks ago. I might have done, but I'll share it again because it was a real. I've always said on the show that I had an epiphany at 30 and everything turned around for me. My life turned around. I became more resilient. I was stronger. I did lose links. There was no way I would have done this 5-6 years ago. I just wouldn't have had the confidence to do it. But I remember being really poorly at one point, and I went to the hospital, and there's a liaison team that comes to see you in A&E. So the liaison team is the person that comes before the crisis team to see if you need help with the crisis team. And I saw this lady, and I remember her like it was yesterday. It's almost 2.5 years ago now, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And she saw me, and she was very small and she was very smiley, but I just didn't give her the time of day really, because I just wasn't in a good place. But she was one of the reasons I'm here today, because she saw me and was like, right, we need to give this bloke some help. And I would say for 2 years of my life now, going through the mental health illness and diagnosis and all of that, I was very much in my own mental health bubble, that I'm the worst suffering with this. No one understands. I feel all on my own. What's the point? This, that, and the other. And then I was told by somebody 2 weeks ago that the woman that saved me 2 weeks later hung herself. And that is really, really sad to share. I know it is. But I think that absolutely burst my bubble, because I just thought to myself then, I had then survivor's guilt. I had survivor's guilt in the fact that this woman had saved my life, and I was still living and she wasn't here anymore. And I'd only met the woman for 30 minutes, but it did make me realise that actually how lucky I was to have the people that I had in my life and still have in my life. And I'm still very thankful for those people. And they're the people that hold my back up when I start to fall a little bit. And what I realised is not everybody has that in the world.
Very true.
And not everybody has that group of people that some people just have family, and that family isn't the best, and then they feel very much on their own. And I think that's what's scary when we think about the mental health world and talking to people the way that we talk to people. It made me realise that sometimes when I've snapped at somebody, I've gone, oh, I really shouldn't have spoken to them like that. And I have gone back to people in supermarkets when I've gone, oh, and walked off, and then I've gone, actually, I'm really sorry for the way I spoke to you there, because I was cross and I took it out on you. And I don't think we do that enough, do we? We're not very big sorryers, are we? We're not very big at
terrible.
Sorry.
Terrible. Sorry. Yeah. And I think we're as a nation, we seem really about admitting when our opinions are wrong as well, which can be really detrimental to relationships and other people's mental health. I think it's a strange trait that we seem to have, and that's quite prevalent on social media, I think.
Definitely.
I think this has got a place, Zoom, to connect people that haven't got families to somebody with the knowledge of how to help somebody with mental health. I do know, I know the route that you took, Nick, with my own family. I won't say anything on here, but I've never been a depressive person. I get sad, very, very sad. But when somebody you love is involved like that, and there's nothing you can do except be there. And so if you haven't got family, then you've only got the camera and a film and somebody to talk to you like that, you've got nothing else. So this is when it comes into its own, and it comes to help people.
Definitely. Don't worry, Rachel, I had to hold back the tears there. It's so funny. Honestly, I was on the edge. Honestly, it was fine. I was on the edge there as well, and that's why I shut up a minute. Yeah, I think to anybody out there that's watching this evening, if you are sat at home and you are struggling, reach out, talk to people, make sure you have that conversation. But also, if you are a friend to anybody out there, just try and think about the last time you contacted them. Just reach out and send a text just to see how they're doing. Knit round. I know you can't go in, but stand in the garden and have a conversation, because every day there is somebody suffering with a battle that you know nothing about. So make sure you keep reaching out to those people. Going back onto the subject a little bit, do you think we have the right to talk to people how we consider for people? Have I just asked that question? I have, haven't I? Sorry, do we have a high expectation on people that do customer-based jobs, or are we a nation of just being harsh?
Difficult one, isn't it? Because we're always dealing with the person that's stuck in the middle. The person at the till or the person on customer services on the phone is not responsible for the problems that you're suffering. But of course, if you have been wronged by someone who's missold you something, or a company is not putting something right for you, or there are multiple things that could be a huge frustration. It's very easy to take that out on the wrong person, and I think these other people are in the firing line, such as checkout workers, for instance. It's not their fault. Your shopping's not right, but nobody else is there to take the blame. So it does happen. It shouldn't, of course.
Well, the thing is, though, I do get what you're saying there, Chris. But I get what you're saying, and I have just admitted that I've done it in the past, and I've gone up and apologised. But I just think these people aren't paid enough to take our bad day on. So if we've had a bad moment around the supermarket with somebody, or we're frustrated by the people that are in front of us crashing trolleys and all of that, that's not the checkout person's fault. And we seem to be a nation. I seem to think that in the year of 2021, we seem to be more of a nation of anger than consideration and maybe patience. And all of that has gone out the window. Because if you think, Rachel, let's go back to when you were a child and you walked around the supermarket with your mum and your dad and stuff like that. I think that we've got harsher as people attacking people, that maybe actually if you had done that as a child in front of your parent, you would have been told what for.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I do think that it's like being nature and nurture, isn't it? Or again, you have to bring your children up to be decent citizens. But I don't think you can actually appreciate what a shop worker or somebody on a till actually goes through until you've been one yourself, and then you become a good customer. You have to you expect a good level of service from people, but you don't have to take abuse from a customer, definitely. But I do think that you have to put them right if they're not giving you that level of good customer service. Doesn't mean to say they can get away with everything, but I do think that everybody has to have a few manners, and it goes on both sides.
I think we don't now. We don't. No. Manners has gone out the window. We don't like. I'm about to bring them down a little bit, but if I go to the city of London, for example, I can't think of one person that will open a door for me, or will walk through a door and keep that door open. People
they're too busy though, aren't they? That's the thing. It's just them.
Yeah.
Me and myself. So there's no one behind me, there's no one in front of me. That's it.
Yeah. And actually, we need to stop doing that, don't we? We need to stop doing that.
I have a friend staying with me as a Londoner, and she said she'd been getting on the bus outside my house in town. She says, "Thank you." She says, "I remember." She says, "I don't say thank you when I go back home." She says, "I think I'm a weirdo."
But you think as well, I'm one of those annoying people that if I hold the door open for someone and they say nothing, I go, "Thank you very much." As I walk through the door, I'm one of those people. Really good question for the last question, really. Do we really listen to other people? Or as a nation, do we think I have the right to say what I think because of freedom of speech?
No.
Go on, Rach.
No, you don't have it. That you say that word, you've got to be kind. Why don't people just be kind? They don't have to say anything. What? Just to get it off the chest, to say what their opinion. if it's going to make a difference and it's going to make things better for that person, then yeah, okay. But if it's not going to make any difference, it's just going to get the back up, you're going to lose a friend, or what is the point? Why do you have to just get it off your chest just because you do, just because it's a difference of opinion? And that's what it is, an opinion. Not right, not wrong.
But you say it best when you say nothing at all.
Oh, you've been...
Zip it, lock it, and put it in your pocket.
That's a good advice, yes.
Bit Ronan Keating.
I was just about to say that. I can't remember his name.
I weren't gonna burst out into song then.
But do you think, I've got to be really careful what I say here, but I do know of friends that would win an argument by always saying, well, it's freedom of speech.
Yeah, but there are people like that, aren't there? You're going to get people because they're always right. And it's not because there's freedom of speech, it's because they want to be right all the time. So they'll just go like that.
I don't think they win the argument. I think they just shout until everyone else can't be doing with it anymore. Yeah. And that's one of the problems, actually, is that the loudest people are often the people that are not necessarily right, but of course they're the people getting hurt.
Exactly. It's really, really important, and I'm sure freedom of speech will come back in another.
I think entitlement is interesting, isn't it? Because going back to what you were saying with in days gone by, when it feels like there was perhaps more respect and more manners, I think there was something else in those days as well, and that was sometimes, particularly with younger people, the fear of standing up for what's just. Sometimes I think children particularly, younger people particularly, were silenced by that fear of not having good manners. But now people are confusing being able to stand up for yourself with being entitled. And, I think that's the fine line we're treading all the time. We need to rein it back a little.
Well, it's also breaking that mould, isn't it? Because I think it was very different from when I was a child of 7 or 8 to maybe a child of 15, 16, because at 7 or 8, I was told children should be seen and not heard. But at 15, 16, I was told, no, every young person has a voice and they need to speak up. So I think it's that breaking of the mould and being taught as a child. And this is why I say all the time, I hate saying when I hear people say, well, back in my day, because my argument straight back at them is, well, we're not in that bloody day anymore. We're in this day. And this is the day that we're talking about now. But have your say on our views. See what you think. See if you think that person was right to get shouted at. Do we have the right to talk to people the way we would like to talk to them? Or do we need to have a bit more consideration and patience in this world? Have your view as well as ours. Our last subject is a dark subject tonight, guys. I'm really sorry.
What are you doing to us?
I need therapy after this.
This is quite out of the show, but it's good because actually we're tackling topics that are really hard hitting at the moment. So we finish on a 14-year-old accused of murdering a 12-year-old in a brutal stabbing. I'm just going to say again in Lincolnshire because the article is sensitive, that has admitted that he was excited by violence. So, a big question out there that's going to be really difficult to answer, I know. But tell me your view, panel. Do you think people are born evil?
No, is my answer to that. Of course, it's not that simple. But I do think what happens in the very, very, very early stages of your life can be extremely important to what kind of a person you become. And I say that with some knowledge, having, I really can't get into this too much, but having known somebody whose life was affected by the way that they were treated as just a very, very small baby. And then they were taken out of that situation, but their personality was certainly affected by that. But I don't think they were born that way. I think people are susceptible to different states of mind. Obviously, if you are in a family who has a history of mental illness, then you are possibly susceptible to for that carrying on down the line. But no, I don't believe that anybody is born evil.
Do you agree, Claire?
Yeah, I agree. You're not born evil. But, you know, it's really sad when you say a 14-year-old killed a 12-year-old and got enjoyment from it, you know, and all I can think of is in this day and age is films or video games. You know, they're killing people all the time, and because of the internet now, they can access majority of things without parent consent of all natures. I mean, there's slasher films and things that you can get, you know, and it's like, but who thinks these films up to start with, let alone then to go and do them?
Me.
Yeah. I can't even think how, why, what, you know, it's just really, really sad.
I do agree with that to a degree, that certain media is far too readily available. And having, you know, 5 kids myself, we are really careful about what they watch and, you know, what they're exposed to on Netflix or the internet or whatever it is. I also do think that there's a lot of blame put onto films and TV for people's behaviour, and I think that's wrong to a large degree. It's used as an excuse, you know, that going back to the days of Mary Whitehouse, I think it was terrible what she did in TV and film, really, because she used it as an excuse for people's behaviour, and that wasn't really the case. I think actually it's more parents have a responsibility to shield children from things they can't understand.
Yeah,
perhaps. I don't think there's anything you can't really say on film if it's set in the right context and directed to the right audience.
Yeah. Rachel, do you think violence is being more the normal and the way of dealing with things in the year of 2021? Do you think violence is becoming more acceptable?
Not acceptable now. I think it's getting more prominent, really. I think it's I know somebody who's in the police, and they say about the knife crime, like knives are so easily to pick up as a weapon, and there's younger people using them, but to say this story where a 14-year-old was excited by violence, it's not surprising with, you know, things like Grand Theft Auto and Resident Evil, all that kind of rubbish. It's not rubbish because it gets the adrenaline going. Because I know somebody also that has a family who knows another family who lets their children as a reward. Oh, you can go on GTA tonight if you do this, do that, do the other. What? You know, and running over people and seeing all that, and that's for younger children below the age of 10, and that shouldn't happen. That should not happen.
We as a school as well, I mean, I teach 3 and 4-year-olds. If we hear them say, you know, we played this game, as in if you say GTA, we have to safeguard that, because that child shouldn't be playing that game.
Good.
So, you know, we do that. And in fact, it was done last week because, you know, the children, they're that age. And yes, it should be the parents' responsibility, but also for us at school, it's our responsibility as well. So
there's also, on the other side of that coin though, Claire, in there's also peer pressure. There's also, I've
Totally.
got this game, why don't you get this game? And then there's a nagging child that goes and goes and goes and goes and goes at their parents till they'll wear down enough to go, actually, bugger it, I can't fight this any longer. I'm just going to buy that game. So there is the other side of that as well. I can't sit here and say it's all parent responsibility, because actually, well, I'm talking to the preached here, aren't I? Really?
Well, a lot of it is down to the parents, because it is their responsibility. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I know you haven't got children, Nick. I'm not saying that, but you have got nephews and that.
Yeah.
But you know, and I know it's difficult. I've got 2 children of my own, but you know, you're the one who has to instill it into them. And if it's not done from the home, then you know. And I know it's difficult, but
because you say right at the beginning of this question, are children born evil? No, I don't believe they're born evil, but I think I would be disturbed if I was a child and I was going to have a video like that or a game like that. I wouldn't want to play it, because that would be my mentality. That's the way I was born. That's the way I was brought up. It would disturb me. It wouldn't give me satisfaction or pleasure at all. But you see, the brain is just like another part of the body. If you're born with a wired wrong or something wrong with your brain, like a lost limb or internal organ dodgy, you know, why can't the brain misfire? And you grow up with that tendency to want something like that. We're only talking like one boy here. We're not talking about every other child in the school. So this one person, you know, switched on wrongly. Somewhere along the line, something's gone wrong, and it doesn't have to be the parents' fault. It could be the way they were born into the world.
No, I completely get that. But do you think the police and as a community are doing enough about violence?
What else can they do? You know, their hands are tied as well. Half the time they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. And there's not enough of them, for one thing. And I would never want to be a PCSO if you paid me millions. Because
again, it was another show about police. You go back to the day where, you know, a policeman could slap you on the head. Oh, come on, get yourself home. Your mum's waiting for you. And that's it. The kids know that, you know, that they're not allowed to touch or say anything, because then they'll, you know.
Well, I've even witnessed parents with their children with their parents where they'll just nudge them a little bit, or they'll do something. And I've heard children go, "You can't do that because I'll call Childline." Yeah. So children are very much aware nowadays, aren't they, of their rights and what they have. Where years ago, maybe that wasn't so apparent when it was being children and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm the youngest on the panel, so I won't know anything about that.
Cheeky.
My mum used to say she was going to call parent line.
What did you say, Chris?
I think it's one thing to be. It's fine to be aware of your rights, definitely. I think you can be aware of your rights and still be a respectable person at the same time. You know, it's not. It's not making people bad that they know that they shouldn't be slapped around the head for no reason or whatever it is, or smacked by their parents for no good reason or whatever. I think I get what you're saying entirely, but I don't think that's the reason behind perhaps. Oh, and actually, the other thing I was going to say was from my personal experience. I live in Sleaford now, and I've lived around the Sleaford area for most of my life. And when, as a teenager, I would go out in Sleaford, I found it exceptionally violent. We would see a lot of violence and a lot of nasty things when we used to go out. And over the years, I feel like that's got better in this town particularly. I really do.
That's good. That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Guys, that brings us to the end of the show. We've made it. We got there. Thank you for tuning in this week. It's always good sometimes, though, to hit hard hitting subjects. Rachel, I know you said earlier about it's very dark tonight's show, and it has been quite a dark show, but actually sometimes we do need to hit those hard-hitting subjects. We do need to talk about those topics that are hidden away in the dark a little bit more, because actually everybody has a voice, and if more of us speak about it maybe, I pray and hope that it helps anybody out there feel like they have a voice too, because you really do. Thank you for joining us this evening on this very solemn but happy conversation on Loose Links this evening. Can you thank my panel? Do you know, I take the mick out of her every single time she's on the show, so for one night only, will you thank the very beautiful and gorgeous Rachel Penny? The outstanding Claire Browning-May, and the person that puts a smile on everybody's face, Chris Clark. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Good night, God bless, and we'll see you soon. Good night.